it opens it up towards maybe QingTian wants to go towards a Gwen. You get that season 11 champions in the two solo lanes. Karsa as well can opt in towards things like the Rumble. There's plenty of options here as the Lee Sin is hovered. Now we have seen this go towards Shadow previously. Garvey has not played it, and yeah, it's only actually been towards Shadow. So, but with that Lee Sin locked in, we will actually get it going towards a different lane.
Yeah, I do believe Garvey has one game.
Oh, one game actually.
Though it didn't look so hot, so we'll see. It is going to be a Thresh as an early lock-in here for top esports, which Thresh feels like kind of fell out of favor with things like the Ezreal coming into the game a lot. It's not that surprising, but it looks like you were talking about season 11 champions. We're going back to season 10, Dagda. We're going back to 200 years ago when Aphelios came out.
Yeah, and I really like this pickup. Like, Aphelios still really strong. Did get some buff/nerfs. I'm kind of feeling they're more kind of on the nerf side of things because of the crescendum, but certainly kind of been changed up coming in towards patch 11-12, and especially paired with the Thresh. The reason that we actually don't see Thresh a huge amount is it's just banned away. Like, this champion still has a 60% win rate. It's still like the third most played champion that we have in the support role right now. And although you do see Ezreal's coming in, it's the Thresh opens up things like the Aphelios, like the Jinx, which are just so strong. So oftentimes we do see it banned away. So I would like as well, okay, Aphelios, what does he work well against? Short range champions that want to come in and fight him. What do you have on LGD's side? Short range Rumble, a Lee Sin that wants to come in and fight you. So this is going to work out super well for JackeyLove, especially when you've got that peel that comes through from Zhuo on the Thresh.
The bans coming through though, Diana and the Volibear being removed, as well as the Nautilus from top esports. Could be another support ban coming out here. Maybe remove another hard engaged support.
I actually wouldn't mind something like a Zoe. I just feel like, so she is pretty good at Zoe, but also just for the fact it's like, hey, you've already got this poke Varus. The equalizer can be used as nearly a poke tool. We've seen it where Rumbles go with the Horizon Focus and build that style. And as well, just because you already are opting in towards this super short range composition, if LGD get this range, it can really cause a ruckus for you. But we'll have to see what the story is going to be, as we are going to get the two season 11s mixed with 200 years. So I don't know. I mean, how many complaints can you fit into one team comp? Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, this is like, let's just pick all of the champions that have been the most broken over the last little bit of time. Although they missed out on the Rumble. Hecarim got nerfed, so that one can't really fall in the category anymore. I'm curious how they round it out.
Shabana, of course.
I'll be amazed if they lock in the Karthus, but I'll be excited. This is obviously go for you'd assume going towards the jungle pick. It is going to be Karsa.
Karsa has played it before.
Bringing out the Gragas.
Yeah, and I like Karsa's Gragas is insane. Like, he was renowned for it when he came over to the LPL from the LMS, like joining RNG in 2017. So I'm really happy to see that he's bringing this back out. It's a big pick for him. But as well, it helps with a little bit of controlling these fights, right? Because you have two solo laners that are going to scale incredibly well. An AD carry that scales incredibly well. But if the fight starts to go a little bit insane in the early stages and you need that peel, you've got the cask there. You can also buy space for JackeyLove if he suddenly gets jumped on by too many members of LGD. And it can help you just a decent early game as well to try and match the Lee Sin and also the Rumble when they try and go for these engages. So I think a nice call here from top esports, adding a little bit of early game just to try and be the bridge to the late game. Whereas we look across at LGD, it's all mid game. Like, you've got such a strong 1-2 item spike, the poke Varus, even Xiye as well, having the Ryze ultimate to help engage these fights, set up Mark as well, as he can take those realm warps. So I think for LGD, this is where we now get the flip side of things, where LGD are the aggressors and it's top esports trying to wait and buy time.
Yeah, we'll see if they can buy enough time, though. That'll be the question. Scale into things. I am curious how this one's going to go down. After game number 1 was relatively slow, with top esports finding advantages in the early game, LGD just trying to buy as much time as possible with the one dragon fight that was a little suspect, it has to be said, and top esports kind of took over the game from there. Then LGD tried to make a bit of a trade play, but top esports just called them out on it, chased them down and took them down. So now, coming into game number 2, I think the thing that has to come into question is less about the draft and much more about LGD's shot calling, especially in that mid game, is figuring out what they need to do, making sure that they're not overstaying, making sure that they're not over pushing for objectives that they don't necessarily need to contest.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big one for me is like, how do we actually see top esports play this style? Because every time I've watched top esports, they have taken fights that they don't need to. They will oftentimes, like, even over Rift Scuttlers, not even for Dragons, it's just, hey, there's a Rift Scuttler here, we've all matched up, let's go and try and fight for this. But I think with a composition like this, your mid-jungle 2v2 is quite strong, right? A lot of CC, but QingTian does need a little bit of time before he can become a real menace, and when you're looking towards the strength of the top side of the map for LGD, they can answer back pretty effectively. So for top esports, definitely need to take a chill pill and play a very different style of game. And we've kind of seen this a little bit from Warhorse, where he will test the new coach coming in across from FPX for top esports. He'll test a couple of different styles and see what fits. And although they've opted in towards a lot of these early game skirmishes, now we're getting to see if they can kind of take it a little bit slower.
And I feel like we just witnessed the last few years of LPL fandom on the screen just there, because we saw the camera zoomed in on an LGD sign, and then someone in front pushes a JackeyLove side in the way, and then there's a karsa side to the side, and we're like, look, top esports. I feel like that pretty aptly represents kind of the power levels and the success of the two organizations over the last few years. But Dagda, looking over these compositions, have you got a favorite coming into this game? Zhuo actually kind of aggressive positioning in the lane, fighting for the level 2 here. But yeah, who are you looking towards as the favorite here in game 2?
I want to see, like, for me, this is kind of a big test towards Shadow, right? Shadow, amazing at getting these early ganks off and kind of setting his team up for success, but against the composition like this, you really need to get the ball rolling. So I want to see him getting aggressive into this bottom side, punishing JackeyLove and Zhuo, and then turning this into early dragons. So you're taking these fights before top esports are really in a situation where they want to fight for any of these objectives. Same when it comes toward these Rift Heralds. Like, if Garvey has already hit level 6, and you've got Xiye who's level 6 as well, the control you can have over River is going to be really difficult for top esports to deal with. But if we end up in a situation where, hey, look, this isn't happening, objectives are sitting for a long time, or top esports are the one picking them up, then I'm going to be looking towards top esports and that late game scaling.
Well, we'll see if the scaling can come through. Certainly top esports, we've seen them. They're no strangers to longer scaling games. When you think back to MSC in 2020, that was actually the name of the tournament for them. They managed to win the tournament, and importantly, for the vast majority of that tournament. In fact, I'm pretty sure there was an interview with, I want to say it was Karsa, it might have been Knight. They basically said, look, coming into this tournament, we've been scrimming the Korean teams. The way they play the game feels really strong right now. So we're just going to beat the Koreans at their own game. And they did. So certainly no strangers to that slower style of gameplay, and this composition will certainly lean into that. But Shadow looking to do the opposite here as he goes for a very early play alongside Garvey in the top side. QingTian on this Gwen could be in trouble. Drops the Shroud, a lot of damage coming down. One more turret shot would have done the trick, but Garvey gets out with his life. I'm not sure about anyone else, but I can't hear Dagda right now. So we'll just... There we go.
I really like that play on the top side. Instant flash in from Garvey, gets this attack speed slow, which means that QingTian isn't able to turn as much around, and it's that early aggression that we want to see from Shadow. Why we were praising him coming across from the LEC, and now might be looking to try and at least help out in this mid lane. Xiye really wants to push this wave in, especially when he's at low mana.
Cheeky little hook onto Kramer, then I'm going to follow up on that one for now. I thought there was maybe going to be a little bit more, but Zhuo just flexing. And I just want to quickly take a second here. I mentioned the development of this support player on top esports. Coming in at the start of the year, he was a rookie. It was like, this guy really, really good on Alistair, but often goes way too deep. Like, he was super good at the 2v2, but often too aggressive. And it feels like the development we've seen out of this support player, it feels like he's so versatile now and so rarely the issue for top esports.
Yeah, and I like, especially when they used to really struggle when it came towards engages, having Zhuo being able to set up for those engages has given top esports a new lease of life, where they're actually finding these team fights a lot better. They're not having to rely on like long range compositions that we saw before back in 2020 spring. Like we saw the Zoes and the the Caitlyn's, oftentimes even the Ezreals, oftentimes in their compositions, because it forced the teams to try and fight against them. Now, with Zhuo being able to play that front line, and actually QingTian as well, kind of facilitating that style too, now entering the team, I definitely like the top esports can rely on outperforming, can rely on their mechanical skill, but can just find these really strong engages to set up for the carries that we already know top esports has.
Definitely feels like a new version of top esports, a bit more of a well-rounded version. The only concern is, I mean, when you look at the standings, they are struggling to start this split off. And God, there's this conversation. It always comes up every split with teams like IG, teams like top esports, even some of the teams like RNG. Like, RNG notoriously, before Chinese New Year, often don't win that many games, and then after Chinese New Year, usually it turns out it didn't matter. As I'm going to stop my point for a second. Shadow's caught out, already used the flash, and he's going to go down. Karsa read him like a book, easily picked up.
Yeah, and a gorgeous flash from Karsa as well. Like, reacts as he realizes that he hasn't quite connected with Shadow, so manages to get that belly pop onto him. And again, like, at least kill goes to Karsa, but it's controlling and shutting down Shadow, stopping this jungler from LGD from having more of an impact, especially when it looked like they were eyeing up that top lane dive again. Karsa reading that perfectly, and this is the Karsa style. This is like Karsa control, that suffocating style, making sure that there's no way that you can actually impact the lanes. And again, we need to see more of this from Karsa as this game goes on to keep Shadow away from his laners.
So good. So far, so good from Karsa. He'll get the first kill for his team as well. And that's going to even the gold up. And I don't think we're going to see any action for a minute here, Dagda. I believe that it's not going to happen. As you can see, Shadow just moving over towards his blue buff. So I do want to return to the point. The point I was trying to make, I'll make it quicker this time. It's just that we see top esports struggling at the start of the split. It's not the first time we've seen it. How much of the conversation of, look, it's top esports, they'll get better across the split, inevitably they'll be a top team. How much of that do you believe in, and how much do you think it's just kind of hyperbole and copium?
Now, I definitely think that, like, we're going to see top esports in playoffs, right? I don't think that's ever really a question. I think more so, like, even we are having, like, okay, well, they're 1 and 2, right? It's not like they've had the worst start to the split. And the teams that they lost to were JDG. Now, admittedly, JDG have been slumping a little bit themselves, but they looked really damn good in that series. That was one of the series where JDG, everything came together for them. And against Oray as well, I mean, yes, could have definitely gone better, but just some early fights didn't really go their way. That Rift Herald, or that Realm Warp play as well, shutting out the game meant that they couldn't quite close out. So I think definitely top esports are still there, and we can still see, especially on champions like this Viego, Knight's been able to shine. So I'm not overly worried for them. But in this game specifically, I think they're actually in a pretty okay spot. Like, again, LGD, they're about to get this Rift out, right? But Dragons haven't been started. That timer that we wanted to see LGD put top esports on isn't there. So the late game scaling still has the opportunity to start up.
Yeah, feels fine in terms of scaling for top esports. Like you're saying, they've got the Aphelios, they've got the Viego, even Gwen does well in the late game as well. So we'll see if LGD can start to pick up the pace a little bit. The Herald will certainly help. I am curious where they're going to try and put that, because they already went for a dive onto QingTian earlier on in the game. Could be an option to just return to that top side, maybe try and finish the tower off, go for another dive. But Karsa was on the top side as the Herald was finished off, so I think realizing that's not a play they could go for. Just got a replay of something in the mid lane. Nice flash coming out from Xiye, but importantly, that flash will be on cooldown now.
Yeah, and especially if you are starting to look at these dragons and that, it does have the opportunity to try and punish Xiye. But again, like, you need to see a little bit more here from top esports to try and actually punish that. It's not like,
this
ooh,
is
hang on.
Bit of a commitment on the top side. Garvey gets another Sonic Wave. QingTian has finished off his needlework. There's the last one. Equalizer comes in from Shadow. QingTian surviving for now, but Shadow should be able to just burn him up. And that's the thing about stuffed animals and stuffed dolls. They are awfully flammable.
That was so close to being Garvey going down, though. Like, literally an auto attack more would have netted that kill, but unfortunately not going to be the case as Shadow does get up there. Karsa will get a dragon for himself on the bottom side, as we're probably going to see that Rift Herald traded here into the top lane to get that gold into Garvey and Shadow.
Yep, and I mean, this is what we talked about, right? They could go for the dive. They didn't even need to, because QingTian went for the 1v1 against Garvey. and it means there was a huge window to make this play on the top side. Garvey is absolutely loaded. Shadow absolutely loaded as well with the 2 kills coming through. Mark now threatening around the mid lane. Zhuo is in enemy territory though. Death sentence flashed away from by Mark, but hey, that's a free summoner spell right there. Nicely done by Zhuo.
Yeah, and a nice job just to get that roam off, realizing, hey, look, Kramer's backed. I've got this opportunity now to start moving. And honestly, like I'm going to start looking at like what's actually happening in the lanes, because we've talked a lot about the team compositions, and yes, Garvey's getting super far ahead with Shadow in that top side, and that is wonderful. But actually look at this bottom lane, right? JackeyLove and Zhuo have been punishing pretty heavily. Kramer's been pushed back. There's a massive gold lead there, already 400 gold for JackeyLove, and when he's been able to start chipping away at these plates, this is when JackeyLove shines, when he's able to punish aggressively, knowing where the opponent jungler is. So again, although Shadow's getting these advantages, you're still being answered for elsewhere on the map, and it's why it's only a 1500 gold lead, despite how far behind QingTian has been put.
Yeah, and importantly as well, Lethality Varus, notorious for it in fact, does not scale that well. Karsa is not messing about. They know that there's no flash and they want to punish that fact, but Knight, he's stuck underneath the tower and he'll be taken down. That's the thing about the possessions that you get from Viego. It doesn't actually reset aggro. Even if you become invincible for a second, you still just die afterwards.
Yeah, Zhuo's Lantern not quite in range as well. I was wondering if you'd see Knight just flash, take the Lantern and screw, trying to get the reset, but a bit deep, not expecting Shadow to be there. It was a nice try, good setup from Karsa, but too many members from LGD there to answer. Now, LGD, they got control, but again, like, what were the key things we looked at? Dragon control. LGD needed to get this play so then they can actually force fights from top esports. Dragons haven't been touched by LGD. In fact, the first one goes super late over towards top esports. So although LGD are getting a lot of gold now and their mid game will be strong, top esports have the opportunity to ignore. Although, as you can see from this play, they don't always like ignoring team fights. Is pretty insane. I actually thought, you can see there, like, the Lantern's there. I thought Knight might just flash and take the Lantern and get out to safety, but not able to quite commit to that, and it means that now they will be able to get out.
Shadow just ruined him though. The equalizer comes down, then the flame spit with the overheat. Karsa just melted before my eyes. And Karsa, interestingly, going for this Shirelia's battle song, but ultimately when you look at the difference between the junglers right now, 4 kills on Shadow, he's easily the guy to watch moving forward into this mid game. Like, damage he's going to be doing with that Night Harvester already is going to be absolutely mental. Him, alongside Garvey as well, who finished a gold drinker very early on into this game. Feels like there'll be 2 of the members to watch out for. Okay, I thought... JackeyLove doesn't even take the land. You don't care about your chain of corruption, Kramer. There's nothing you can do here.
I mean, very much aware that he's going to be all right there. And yeah, Shadow's bot side, but you still have a lot of members here as top esports. Now, they do need to be careful, right? Equalizer already up, and this is what I'm most impressed about with JackeyLove and Zhuo is how well JackeyLove, in a lot of situations, not always, but when he sees a jungler on the opposite side of the map, how well he punishes that. Oftentimes stepping up crazy aggressively. He's so good at punishing every time you take a CS. And that's why we look at, like, just the lane. Oh, hang on. Am I not on?
Looking for a chance, actually goes for the kick, knocks him back into the lane, trying to get rid of the minions so Sonic Waves exist. QingTian has support from Knight TPing in. Xiye is already here. Shadow over the wall as well. Garvey jumps on out, but Knight wants a little bit more. The Heartbreaker comes on in, but Garvey's still surviving. The Equalizer burning through, and Garvey lives. Knight's the one to go down, and Shadow has the damage to finish these players off. QingTian falls to the Flame Spitter. Xiye wants a little bit more. Actually flashes for the Rune Prism, looking for the kill onto Karsa. One more auto finishes the trick, and LGD, they're running away with things.
The Gore Drinker bait. The Heartbreaker doesn't get the kill because the Gore Drinker comes out from Garvey. So between the Safeguard and that Gore Drinker, he survives. And now LGD respond perfectly, opening up this game now so much more. This gold lead becoming very, very difficult as now, though, top esports mount the offense.
Yeah, Zhuo trying to close the gap onto Xiye. Wants to be able to get the play before the hook. There it is. The box is there. It's too clean from Zhuo. And you know what? The one champion Yu Yanja had was this Thresh. I feel like Zhuo's outdone him.
I mean, Zhuo's kind of outdone Yu Yanja a long time ago. But now, look, top esports are like, cool. Cloud Dragon on the field. Do we care? Not in the slightest. We're going to go take this top lane turret with JackeyLove, get him more gold. And I'm surprised to see Garvey still coming into these. I actually think he was expecting a quicker realm warp coming through from QingTian. Well, sorry, from Xiye. But it means that QingTian able to win out in these 1v1s, as you can already see, despite being set behind, which is a little bit silly. And then the Gourd Drinker here barely keeps Xiye alive, despite the Heartbreaker coming in. Triumph then to keep him safe. Karsa can't even finish him off because of the Shirelia's build. And then it's all gone disastrously for top esports. So 3 for 1 for LGD, so they're still coming out on top. And they should, I believe, actually they still haven't got that dragon on that bottom side. There it goes.
Yeah, just finished it off. It was taken up by Shadow there. Garvey takes the bot tier 1 tower as well. And Karsa's like, all right, well, we'll just trade on the opposite side of the map. They got the tier 1 for themselves for top esports there. And they'll get themselves a Herald. But importantly, even with that Herald, even with that tower, Karsa's like, I don't care about your London. I want the Scuttle Crab. Feels like top esports never let anything go. Karsa gets it with the barrel. Very nicely done there. But importantly, LGD are massively ahead. 4,000 gold lead at 16 minutes is a huge, huge advantage for them. But we need to see them maintain this pace. They're being proactive. They're making plays. They've got to keep that up throughout the game.
Yeah, and the best way for LGD to do that, now that they don't have the dragons, is when this Baron comes up, try to see if they can push in these towers. Now, like, the big focus for them right now is getting down that mid lane turret, and then you can push in that mid wave, try to use Xiye's Realm Warp to creatively get you into the pit very, very quickly, and burst down that Baron. Now, it's not going to be an easy thing to do. Like, Kramer, with this poke build, doesn't actually have... Ooh, hang on, QingTian.
Oh, no, QingTian's gone way too far for this one. Shadow just waiting in the wings, and gets himself yet another kill. That's 6, 1, and 2 on the scoreboard. And, well, Shadow is having a pretty damn good first split in the LPL, isn't he?
Yeah, it's going all right for him, you know? A lot of these games he's been doing pretty damn good. And the thing is as well, like, even in the games that LGD have lost, it's been like Shadow carrying, like, kicking and screaming with some smart plays, trying to see if he can bring the game back, constantly pushing every opponent he has to its limit. And it's really impressive, especially, like, paired with Xiye, who we've already kind of pinned these together as the mid-jungle 2v2 for LGD, or sorry, the mid jungle for LGD, that they can play that 2v2 around. These are the guys to watch out for in those late game scenarios. But actually adding Garvey into the mix now with the amount of pressure that they got, hell, Shadow's looking pretty damn strong.
Yeah, certainly in this game he's looking monumental, but across the whole LPL. Okay, Shadow. Just as we compliment him, he messes it up completely. Kramer will get into the realm warp. Xiye saves the day. Yeah, equalizer a little bit late and a little bit wide on that one, so it doesn't quite find JackeyLove, who now knows everything's on cooldown and starts positioning like JackeyLove does to push this way forward. Herald comes down and top esports, they're like, all right, you've used everything, time to respond.
Yeah, and now the big thing here as well is, like, top esports have been funneling everything into JackeyLove, right? He's got a bunch of plays in the bot side. Now they moved him top, he gets that wave, he gets that turret. Like, he's got the highest CS by about 10 in the game right now until Xiye cleared that wave. But overall, JackeyLove is going to be very quickly getting towards that third item. And as we talked about in Champ Select, and Aphelios in a composition like LGD has, with super short range on Garvey, Shadow, Xiye, a composition that needs to jump in on top of top esports, this actually enables JackeyLove a hell of a lot. So keep your eyes on Shadow to see if those equalizers are getting on to JackeyLove in these fights, or if JackeyLove is in a position to carry, because if you're not dealing with this Aphelios, he will take over the fight.
Oh yeah, I mean, that can be said for 3 of the champions across top esports lineup, and we've always talked about top esports as a trident team. This is the kind of composition that really shows you that that is the case, right? Even 0 and 4 QingTian on this Gwen, once you get 2 items, you're still a menace. You still have that Conqueror. If you're able to just stack up during the fight, you can still just annihilate a backline and cause so much of an issue. Same for the Viego. If you get the resets, you can take over. And Aphelios, we've all seen what Aphelios can do 1,000 times last year. We don't need to talk about Aphelios. In fact, I'd rather not. So on the side of LGD, though, the key thing is that they have this chain of CC with the Varus, with the Leona, to set up for an equalizer that wins the game.
Yeah, and it's about trying to burst out, like, Karsa, for example, who, because he's gone this Shirelia's build, is a glorified support. Like, he does not have a health bar. So if you end up with him locking him up into an equalizer, he will go down. Same when you look at JackeyLove. He's going to be very vulnerable in those scenarios. That's why he's taking the cleanse in this game, to make sure he's got like lanterns that he can take basically on a whim. But you still have to try and find these scenarios for LGD, and I think they have many tools to try and go for it. Like Mark, obviously we're talking about Xiye as well, going with these realm warps. You've got kicks that can come through from Garvey. Like LGD can definitely find these fights. They just have to make sure that they are getting onto the right members in the scrap.
So it does feel like the pace of the game has been relatively slow over the last few minutes, which, just to repeat ourselves again, is definitely in favor of top esports in the grand scheme of things. The scaling on that side is pretty bonkers, to be quite honest. But LGD are looking to grab themselves some Drakes. I assumed that was Shadow because I saw a Lee Sin, and you know what? Even though Lee Sin's been a solo laner for a good month or so at this point, it's still like intrinsically in my brain. I see Lee Sin, I assume jungler, you know? Like,
I mean, you've had maybe like 2 months. It's been years, as you said, that Lee Sin has been a jungler. So I still do the same thing. We're like, no, not jungler. He doesn't even have smite. It's not even worth it. But yeah, I think for a lot of this though, for Garvey, like you can see that because he's not in jungle, he can have a lot of pressure on these side lanes, right? Shoving in, keeping QingTian in check. He's got the level lead. He's got an item lead as well. Like this is where if you can get Shadow down here, you can burst out QingTian very, very quickly underneath these turrets. However, might be going for this now, actually, as I say it, because they have full control over this bot side jungle, and it looks like top esports are going to try and take it back.
And it feels so good to see Garvey being a player that this team is willing to play around as well, right? When we see these early dives, we see the heralds being thrown towards Garvey. When you consider that earlier this year, he was having to be the AD carry for the team. Like, the dramatic difference in, hey, Garvey, just try and fill this hole that we've got right now while Kramer can't play, to now being like, okay, you're the staple top laner. You're the guy we sub in when we lose a game.
They brought him in for 3 series, right? And they stuck him against IG, JDG, and Orangey. They put him against the Xiye, Zoom, and then Xiaohu, who's Xiaohu plus 4 wards who play top side. So, like, he never got a chance to play top lane. So, I'm glad that we actually get to see a little bit of what Garvey's capable of. Now, did have a little bit of a rough opening to the split, but certainly, like, starting to settle into LGD and getting that experience, which means he's going to be able to actually get to a better place and improve as the split goes on.
Yeah, does feel like he's... I guess the point I'm trying to make ultimately is we get to actually see what he's made of this split. This is the split where we actually finally get to see who Garvey is, what he's capable of, and whether or not he's able to improve across the course of this year. This game, though, looking pretty good for Garvey, as he was set up for success by Shadow, who is just taking over. Yeah. But we do have to repeat the fact that... Sorry, go on.
I wanted to hit on what I wanted to see from LGD here, because... Oh, actually, realm warp in, but they're not going to be able to catch him as Mark, though. Gets Zhuo.
Or are they? Zhuo going to be locked up, flashes off the equalizer, but he'll still go down here. JackeyLove just takes the equalizer as a leash, but it's Shadow that gets it. The last tick of the equalizer gets the chicken. So they get a support and a chicken, and arguably, the latter of those two, more valuable.
Definitely. I mean, well, it depends on what game we're playing, you know? Sometimes the chicken can be a little bit dangerous, but definitely I think in this scenario, like, nice pick, but this is kind of what I wanted to see. I was about to say, I want to see the realm warp being more actively used by Xiye. He's grouped up with the team, which usually you think, hey, Ryze, go to a side lane, but certainly in this scenario, I'd rather see him grouped up. He's going to struggle against Knight in the side lane, and it gives you the option, as we said, to like shove in waves, use that realm warp over towards Baron, or in this scenario, they're able to pick off Zhuo, but I want to see them get more from it. Yes, they got the pick, but they didn't get vision in the bottom side jungle. They have no vision top side. They don't control river. Like, they're making the picks, but it's not amounting to anything. It's just that next step that I want to see from LGD.
Yeah, it feels like that's one of the big differences between the teams that you see always being successful. The consistent teams is when they... Oh my goodness, another pick, another one onto Zhuo again, and the CC chain from the Leona. This Leona Rumble combo is just terrifying. What do you do? Because Zhuo, he has to face check. He has to try and get vision for his team.
And Mark's on point today. Like, I'll be the first to hold up my hand and say I criticize Mark a fair amount for having whiffed spells, but he's been on point with these solar flares today, even getting, as you can see, the flash in there to make sure that he's all good. And now LGD, they do start up this Baron, but top esports are in a position to try and contest, and LGD will back away.
They might look for a pick onto Karsa, though, who's a little bit too far up. The belly bot means the kick goes the wrong way. There's a Zhonya's at a big ult from Karsa, but It's not going to save him at the end of the day. Still a minute on the Drake, and it feels like LGD, maybe they can go back to Baron. There's 3 members strong from top esports. Zhuo is going to return to the party once again. It does feel maybe a little dicey to just try and do the Baron, but LGD are going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think Kramer gave the game away there. You can see LGD were posturing, top esports were going to face check, but that arrow gave up where they were hiding. Now Knight on the back line going up against Garvey, but you've got no jungler here.
Yeah, Karsa still not up, and this is just going to be burnt down. LGD are going to be able to finish this one. Needlework across the team. There's a Zhonya's coming on in a Lantern to try and get QingTian out, but the ward over the Lantern. Here comes JackeyLove. He's on the Aphelios. These are the kinds of fights that Aphelios is going to be able to do a lot of work in. There's AoE splash damage coming in. Knight on the back line as well, and LGD health bars are low. No way did top esports turn this fight around. No way did they turn this game around. Double kill comes through, though, for Knight as he looks for a little bit more. Looking for Shadow, looking for Garvey. Heartbreaker over the wall. He's going to be sprinting through the shadows here. Garvey, though, is confident. He knows he can go for this one. And Knight can't take the 2v1.
But remember what we said, it's exactly what happened. JackeyLove manages to play out that fight. There's no equalizer to contest him on the back line. Garvey doesn't have access to him. And when he's got these 2.5 items, he can be a menace in those fights, especially with the Crescendum and Infernum guns, AoE splash across the team, and a very rapid pace at that as well. So now top esports, yes, they lose out on that Baron, but they do get the fight. They get another dragon for themselves, and they are cresting the point where they are relevant. 2 items now for QingTian. JackeyLove in a great spot. Knight already running amok in this fight, but as you said, like QingTian, like goes golden here, then gets the hollowed mist, and oh, look at all the damage that's trying to go pumped into QingTian that they don't get. Instant cleanse there from JackeyLove as well. Xiye is now in a terrible spot. Zhuo is doing an amazing job of keeping a lot of these players busy as Knight re-enters onto the back line and starts to get reset city.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming out from top esports, and I mean, we've seen JackeyLove on Aphelios at the Baron pit before. That was in a finals between top esports, JDG, Knight and JackeyLove 2v5 to the enemy squad. Seen it before, and now JackeyLove's going to be caught up on top of an equalizer, though. He has a Hex Trigger, he has a Locket, and it's a Shimok that's going to go down. Oh, but the arrow from Kramer! Robin Hood is onto the Rift.
Gets sniped out on the back line, but hold on a second, Garvey.
Another fight. Garvey's caught up here, already used the Gordrick of the sustain, and it will get him out to safety here. LGD back onto the mid lane tower once more.
Yeah, and you can see that Maw is going to be pretty crucial for JackeyLove, but he's a sitting duck when he doesn't have that cleanse up available. Now LGD, 4-man strong, pushing in this mid lane. No ultimates, a lot of those key ultimates are down, whereas top esports still looking at Knight. Nothing else available though.
Ooh. Good damage coming out from Kramer here, and remember, still a 6,000 gold lead in favor of LGD. They are still the favorites in these fights. With the Baron, they're able to push in to this mid lane and be able to get themselves an inhibitor. The only problem with this I can see, Dagda, is that at the end of the day, there's a Viego that's going to build a lot of percent damage, and also there's an Aphelios. He doesn't struggle too much with the super minions, so that is going to be a lot of gold going the way of top esports. With LGD still in the driver's seat, Shadow leading the charge for the team and doing such an amazing job in this game.
Yeah, these equalizers have been so crucial. Honestly, it's just been jungle support. Like, these are the 2 that I just want to look at, because Mark has been incredible with these ultimates and setting up for Shadow. Like, it's a 1-2 combo that top esports can't deal with, and especially as we talked about, like, JackeyLove, cool, equalizer's going to hurt him, but it's the CC that's really ruining his day here. Now, Karsa does a phenomenal job of keeping Mark off him for a large portion of time, but even then you can see Kramer just barely eking out on the edge of the hitbox there for the snipe. That could have just been a 1-for-nothing, but as you can see, that Maw doing work in these fights, got to keep JackeyLove in a good spot, and now he's starting to work towards that Infinity Edge. So a delayed spike for a lot more survivability in these fights, which I think is a really smart itemization from JackeyLove.
I just can't believe he survived as long as he did, with the Maw in his pocket, then the Lantern coming out from Zhuo, as well as the Locket coming out from Zhuo. Just keeps JackeyLove alive for so damn long. He has the cleanse available once again, though. So next time around, if the chains land, if some big CC lands onto JackeyLove, he will be able to cleanse, even flash away if he needs to. And this is what I was talking about. Yes, you have the supers in the mid lane, but JackeyLove with a Kraken Slayer, he can deal with them.
Yeah, top lane turret is going to go down. I don't think you try and mount a defense here as top esports. That turret is one of the most difficult ones to try and defend on both sides of the rift, so they're just going to let that one go. LGD now rotating in towards the mid lane, and you've got a choice here now. Minute and a half until Dragon, minute and a half until Baron as well. And when you look at top esports side, they will rip through the Baron with the Divine Sunder, JackeyLove on this Aphelios, and QingTian as well having a heap of damage too. So you always have to be cognizant of LGD as to what can happen. Whereas when we look across at LGD side, Xiye has that level 16 Ryze ult available, so can cover quite a large distance, and they want to see if they can get control of these river areas first, because if you're trying to move through these chokes as top esports with an equalizer, with Garvey having these big dragon kicks, poke from Kramer, Mark on this solar flare too, it's going to make it very difficult for top esports to contest.
So let's dig a little deeper in that conversation, Dagda, because I'm curious how, now we're getting to the conversation of scaling. We're getting to that point where the top esports carries come online. How do they actually operate in these fights? What is the positioning? How do they keep JackeyLove alive so that he can do the damage he needs to?
So it needs to be nice our QingTian finding the flank. You want to start causing chaos in the LGD backline, because if Kramer's not focused on JackeyLove and sniping him out on an equalizer, or you don't get Garvey being able to follow up because he's trying to peel for his own backline, then you can actually buy space for JackeyLove. Now, crucially, JackeyLove has his flash, has his cleanse. He's actually in a really good spot for this next fight where he can try and move away from some of the CC that's coming his direction. But if you're on LGD, I'd be looking to see if Garvey can maybe even find a pick onto JackeyLove before the fight even kicks off.
And for LGD, it does feel like, even though it's not a classic pick comp, the way that it's operating does feel kind of like a pick comp, right? With the Leona and the Rumble, this combo that's just one-shotting people that step too far up. Karsa trying to get vision control of the Baron, while LGD got themselves that Mountain Drake uncontested. They are now on Soul Point, so the next Drake puts top esports on a timer, and this is what you were asking for LGD to do hours ago. They've finally now got themselves on Soul Point. Here we go, Karsa on the flank. Kramer knocked into the rest of the fray, and Knight's going to close the gap onto Kramer, takes it down, gets the reset, and looks for a little more, but he's shut down himself as the damage comes out from Shadow. We have a bit of a reset in the fight, 4 versus 4. We're fighting over a Drake that's not even there. Look at this, pings onto the base. Xiye, I think he's considering TPing into the base here. I think he's considering a potential backdoor play. The TP comes on in. He's looking for an inhib as Zhuo tries to find the hook and Shadow, but he won't quite find it. Garvey's not going to let them reset. Won't let them go back to the base here. Xiye went for the TP, but he's trying to flank. He's not sure what he wants to do. He needed to commit on this one. He will now go towards the inhib. Top esports can back away, though. Equalizer, not the greatest we've ever seen. Xiye sticking to this.
QingTian went to go for the teleport play, but it got cancelled by Mark. That's why Xiye backed away. They weren't sure if they're going to get the cancel, but now Xiye, he's going to try and realm warp out. There it goes, one more auto, and he sent it straight topside. The cannon minion even to tank it on the way out. It is gorgeous from Xiye.
Oh, Zhuo's in trouble, but JackeyLove is here and he wants Shadow. He accidentally hit the blast cone though with the Q. It auto-targets. And now Garvey's the target. Instead, they couldn't get Shadow. They can't get those shutdowns. But the consolation prize will be this Lee Sin. The hook comes out too early though. Karsa's there to deny the escape. Now onto Mark they go. Great solar flare to try and buy time. Arrows come in. Equalizer across the team as well. There's a chain of corruption. It's not quite enough damage. Karsa turns gold to the last possible second. And Knight jumps forward. He's pretending to be Leona, but it's Viego really. Surprise! But he's not going to be able to find anything more on this one. But a Baron, that's the reward Top Esports will reap.
And it was time the Top Esports needed. The scaling is online. 3 items across the board. And LGD, they just don't have enough left in the tank. Not being able to find these early dragons meant they couldn't fight against Top Esports when they were strong. And now it's Top Esports who are winning out on these fights. You can see in this one, they tried to get on towards Zhuo. A great hook on towards Garvey. Now, it gets messy here. Garvey goes down, but look at this from Karsa. This explosive cast. Everyone on LGD side waiting there, only to find that they've been bamboozled as everyone on Top Esports is able to find the rest of the fight.
I mean, Karsa is a man of many talents, right? He's got the biggest smile in the LPL. He's got the biggest brain in the LPL. It's just too beautiful to watch. And now, we've been talking about the gold lead all game long, Dagda. It's shrinking. 4,000 still in favor of LGD. They are still ahead in this game, but the conversation of scaling feels like it's starting to take over as
Xiye just hit that cannon for exactly 1,000 damage. That was very satisfying to watch. But now, with the Baron in the pocket, we talked about this Trident composition, right, for top esports. With a Baron, Trident compositions come alive.
Yeah, and it's so difficult for you to deal with them. They're not even going for a 1-3-1. I mean, they're just having Knight sit with them, push in. QingTian is so big right now. Cosmic Drive completed. Like, he is... Forget about the 0-4. QingTian is such a problem now for the LGD squad. And now, both sides being threatened. There's very little room here for top esports, or sorry, for LGD to deal with, because again, you've got two sources of wave clear in Xiye and kind of in Kramer, but against Baron minions, Kramer's clear is pretty lacking, and you need Xiye to bounce back and forth between these two waves.
They're going towards the mid lane though. QingTian doesn't have a wave in the bottom side, and they can play attrition. They still have a full minute on this Baron. The next wave's cannon will finish the mid tower, no matter what LGD does, unless they can force some kind of big engage. In fact, they don't even need to wait for the next wave. They couldn't deal with that one cannon. They've moved down to the bottom side to try and deal with QingTian, who is just consistently putting this pressure on. But top esports now find their way into the mid lane. JackeyLove has a lantern to get out on. Does have to back away. Can't commit too hard, but half of the damage down on that bot lane tower now. They just juggle this all the way. The cannons, once again, as you say, will finish the inhibitor. And it means that top esports, they got themselves an inhib, and in 20 seconds, they might just get themselves a Mountain Drake as well.
Well, it's a little bit late for them to reset, so it actually could be LGD with the faster resets now getting control of this dragon. QingTian has the TP, clears top side, but look at where LGD are positioned, right? They're actually in a pretty strong spot here and could maybe look for a fight if they can find the right moment.
QingTian has TP available. There is a deep control ward behind enemy lines right there. He could go for the reset and go for the TP. Drake has been started. LGD filtering in. That's the ward I'm talking about. Good job, observers. But he's going to TP to the mid lane instead. Just trying to burn this one down. In they go. It's going to be Shadow that does get it. But Shadow's been caught himself. Karsa trying to 1v1 him. Knight is there. Garvey chased down by the rest of the squad. In come the arrows, but the damage just isn't there without Shadow. Shadow finished off, as is Garvey. Top esports, they don't care about the soul. They don't care about the dragon. They're just going to try and get the kills instead. Lantern comes out. QingTian
could be the game.
On up towards the mid lane. Top esports might end, Dagda.
Yeah, they've got the minion wave here, super creep in that mid lane, and when you've got Shadow down, Garvey down, they could look to dive here. Karsa still has his flash, and JackeyLove has a hell of a lot of damage.
JackeyLove takes an arrow to the face, but he doesn't care. He's got the lifesteal of the Severum. And top esports pressuring, trying to close things out. Still 20 seconds on the dead times. In they go underneath the tower. Mark pulled out to the rest of the team. Zhuo low on HP, but surviving for now. Mark had the Zhonyas and will flash out. Buying time. The wave is cleared, and top esports can't end just yet.
Karsa missed on the flash body slam, and now actually TP to the base. Xiye
TP's into the base. The inhib has respawned, but he's able to clear this one out. Recall's coming out across the team from top esports. I don't know if Xiye has the damage. I don't know if the recalls are going to come off. Zhuo is there. There's an equalizer onto the rest of the team. JackeyLove in trouble, but there's a kill coming out onto Marcus. JackeyLove trying to finish things off. Xiye in a 2v1, and Knight is there to finish him off. Knight does not have the TP available, but JackeyLove has the damage to take these towers down. Karsa and QingTian there alongside him. Shadow, no equalizer. Garvey goes in to try and threaten the squad. Chain of Corruption comes out. There is no minion wave. And I think top esports have to back away once again.
Top esports and Ryze backdoors. What is with the two of them? Top esports now, though, they've got to run Garvey on the chase, but he's going to back away. It looks like we will get the reset just in time for the Baron. But both these teams pushing this game as far as they can possibly go.
And this is the kind of game I wanted out of these two teams. This is what I was hoping for when we came into this series, and it's what we are getting. Xiye, we know him as a massive playmaking player. He goes for the huge TP play. It doesn't quite work out, but Garvey has his TP available. There is no ward in the base, but maybe if minions can push up during a Baron contest or something. Baron's coming up in 30 seconds. Keep your eyes on LGD's TPs and on that realm warp, because there is plenty of space for creativity in this kind of game.
Yeah, this is where you start to see if top esports learn from their mistakes. Xiye being able to bring the team in could be the end for top esports. It's this exact scenario they were in against Rare Atom. Baron is now up. QingTian trying to pressure a side lane. You can even see Xiye is playing towards the back line here in case QingTian tries to make a play on towards Garvey in the side lane. But TP up and available for the Lee Sin to get to the play. But potentially here, look, they might actually just look to realm warp these minions straight into the base.
They're setting up on the bottom side, and top esports are like, all right, you send two people bot, we're just going to blast through this Baron. Shadow, if he can make a steal happen here, will be the savior. Karsa is in the pit. Baron down to 2,000 HP. Karsa's 1 HP, but he manages to take it in the end. Shadow will go down. The recalls have to come on through. Look where Xiye and Garvey are. They're trying to push, but Mark just moves in, trying to stop the recalls here, but he might just answer with his own life. Mark, with his Zhonya's, buying time, but Knight's already based. So they managed to save the day. They managed to get 2 kills for themselves. It's a trade for Karsa, but now the TP is going to come on through. And the rest of LGD have to somehow get back in. QingTian finishes 1 tower off. They're trying to get a pick onto him, but it won't happen. JackeyLove and Zhuo are on the way. Knight is going to play defense. He's making sure nobody is sticking around for cheeky backdoor plays. And Knight, no TP up available for him. But JackeyLove gets back into the fray. This is the pick that they needed. Zhuo throws out the lantern, but it's not going to be able to find him. The GA comes through. Gets onto the... Somehow gets the lantern. JackeyLove is out. Zhuo sacrifices himself, but gets a pull onto Kramer. Cleanse comes out. Garvey looking for more. QingTian playing frontline, as is Knight, trying to protect JackeyLove, protect the president here. The minions pushing into the base of top esports as we speak. Garvey looking for more. He's hunting through the jungle.
The respawns are coming through for LGD, though. This is where you're now in danger. You have no support for the next 35 seconds. You don't have any TPs available on towards QingTian as well. So now LGD, they're the ones in control. They have the realm warp again. They have these minion lines that are Congo lining in. Top esports need to clear them.
LGD, a team, an organization that is looking to prove themselves in modern LPL. Garvey dashes off to the rest of his squad. Another player that wants to prove himself, wants to make sure that he is the solid top laner on this team. Flank from Karsa, big cask of shit, knocked into the rest of the team here. Knight threatening on the backline. Equalizer comes across. JackeyLove gonna be stunned up, gonna be caught out. Doesn't have a GA, and he goes down onto Kramer. Go the rest of the team though. Knight and Karsa on the backline. QingTian trying to finish off Shadow, who's the majority of the damage, and LGD, they're falling apart. Top esports, after an entire game of being behind, find the fight that might just find them a victory.
It has found them the victory, Munch. 40-second death timers left. Mark will fall. QingTian will snip him down. And now they can look to close out the game. Karsa is on wave clear duty in the base as Zhuo is going to push this in. 28 seconds left on Xiye. Tower goes down for QingTian. Unless Xiye can get some crazy TP win in here, it feels like it's done and dusted for LGD.
We've got 15 seconds until Xiye is onto the map. There is currently a minion wave in the bottom side. Maybe there's like a TP into Realm Warp kind of play that can come out. I think that's the only way I can imagine. LGD holding on here. JackeyLove straight onto the tower. In fact, it's Knight and Karsa onto the tower. Xiye using the Realm Warp, trying to threaten, but it's not going to happen. Top esports just go straight onto the Nexus. Kramer won't have damage, neither does Xiye. The resets come on through. The equalizer is there. No way to hold on to this one. Knight is there onto the Nexus. He's just trying to finish it. He's playing as Rumble. I'm not sure that's optimal. He just goes for Kramer. He knows he's got this one in the bag. Takes down the Nexus, and top esports take a 2-0 win.
I saw that solar flare come down and I was like, oh no, Knight, you've gone too far. Doesn't quite get the CC chain in there for Mark though, so they can't lock him up. One more auto would take it down. But that last 7 to 8 minutes of play was insane from these guys. Back and forth across the board. Everyone trying anything they could think of to take down the enemy's Nexus.
Whether you're a fan of top esports, whether you're a fan of LGD, love them or hate them, you can't deny that that game was mental. That was so much fun to watch, and it feels like it's almost always the case with top esports, but LGD stepped up today. Even though this was a 2-0 in the end, it cannot be understated that LGD have shown their caliber here, and especially Shadow on this Rumble has had an exceptional game for himself.
Yeah, I think across the board here, LGD, like, they were a hair's breadth away from taking this game. Like, at any point in time, it could have swung in their direction. Game 1, LGD with the Jinx nearly finding that opportunity to scale into the late game, but having that one misstep in that team fight. Then we get into this game as well, and the entire time I was like, hang on a second, where's Realm Warps? Where's the TPs? Where's the minions? Because it felt like they could have closed this one out, but they eventually fall to just the scaling that Top Esports had. We said already, like, for LGD, they needed to start these dragons earlier. They needed to find these opportunities to force Top Esports into these fights, and without being able to do so, Top Esports get time to scale, we get to full items on some of these carries, and then we just get season 11 plus 200 years.
Yeah, a lot of scaling, a lot of damage, and a lot of team fight power from Top Esports. But I just want to quickly mention that LGD, we always talk about team identities, right? I feel like LGD are actually building a team identity of, we're the team that's going to find a creative way to backdoor you no matter what. When you think back to regional finals, when you think back to what LGD were doing in playoffs last year, back in summer, it was pretty much the same thing. I feel like it's down to Xiye as a shot caller that makes these crazy things happen. It was a lot of the Twisted Fate, a lot of the Ryze as well last year. Still feels like the same thing. Even with a bunch of different players on this roster, it still feels like that is their go-to strategy, and often the way that they find these late game wins. But Top Esports, their late game shot calling is just as exceptional. They're so used to these high pressure situations. And at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the damage, and you got to feel a little bit bad for Shadow, who was doing more than pulling his weight in this game, and Kramer obviously doing a lot of poke damage. But at the end of the day, you look at the gold difference, it was Top Esports that came out on top in the end, but look how long they were behind for. Almost, I guess, 40 minutes of that game, they were in a gold deficit.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the curse of the Mountain Dragon continues. There's been 3 or 4 teams now that get that Mountain Soul and still end up losing out the game. But look, we talked about it already, right? Late game scaling for this team was absolutely insane. And when you get a 44-minute game, you're too late for LGD. They needed to try and spike a little bit harder. But again, like, I'm pointing this out because I'm actually excited off of this game for LGD, right? Shadow, I think, has been an amazing addition to the LPL. Like, I'm so glad we've nicked him from LEC because the early game plays from this guy, the carry potential that we're getting through from picks like the Rumble are looking great. I think he's working really, really well with Xiye as well. Like we talked about, hey, look, who are the 2 guys we're looking to see carry? It's Shadow and Xiye, right? And they stepped up here once again. Shadow just playing through Garvey. And honestly, I think we got a great performance here from Mark as well in this series. Yeah. The Tam Kench saved Kramer in a lot of situations in game number 1 and consistently hitting these solar flares throughout game number 2.
Yeah, I think Mark is the guy that has stood out the most to me. Obviously not in terms of scoreline, and like, I think Shadow obviously had an exceptional performance. I think Garvey looked really good today. But in terms of like my expectations versus what we saw today, I think Mark is looking fantastic this split. Like, he's a player that has left a lot to be desired in certain important games over history. So I'm glad to see Mark doing well. He's got a new haircut, new year, new me, I guess. And he's looking good on the Rift. And him and Shadow specifically, that duo, seem to be really, really well in sync on what they need to do. They seem to be working together exceptionally.
Yeah, specifically because, like, we saw this exact same combo with LGD, and I'm pretty sure it's against RA, where we had this like, Leona and also the Rumble combo, but they just couldn't quite get the synergy down, where Shadow would end up throwing out the equalizer. It wouldn't hit with the solar flare. The solar flare would either